When people talk about big block V8 engines, the first thing that usually comes to mind is displacement. Traditionally, a big block V8 starts at around 396 cubic inches, or 6.5 liters, and can stretch all the way to 10 liters or more, depending on the manufacturer and performance goals. However, displacement alone doesn't always define a big block. Engines such as Ford's 332 V8 are sometimes grouped into the category because of their overall size, weight, and power characteristics, even if their cubic inch rating doesn't match the giants of the era. The golden age of the big block was undoubtedly during the 1950s, 1960s, and early 1970s, when American automakers were locked in an all-out horsepower war. Muscle cars of that time carried these engines like badges of honor, built heavy, tuned aggressively, and designed to dominate both the street and the drag strip. By the mid-1970s, however, the party started to fade. The combination of the oil crisis, rising fuel costs, and strict emission regulations forced automakers to scale back. As a result, truly massive big block V8s became far less common in regular production vehicles. Today, you won't often see a big block V8 in a daily driver, but they're still alive and roaring in a few places. Modern high-performance vehicles like the Cadillac Escalade V or Dodge's Challenger Hellcat Redeye keep the tradition alive in spirit, though many modern power plants are technically categorized as small blocks with forced induction rather than true old-school big blocks. Where the big block V8 continues to thrive is in the aftermarket world. Crate engines, rebuild projects, drag racing machines, and custom hot rods still lean on these beasts for their legendary torque, durability, and sound. With that background in mind, let's dive into the top 10 most powerful big block V8s ever built. We'll look at displacement, horsepower, torque, and the cars that carried them into the history books. To start the list, one of the most iconic engines of its time, the 429 Cobra Jet. Produced between 1968 and 1971, this power plant could be found under the hood of cars like the Ford Torino Cobra, the Mercury Cougar Eliminator, and even the legendary 1970 Ford Falcon in certain markets. With a compression ratio of 11.3 to 1, the Cobra Jet was capable of launching cars from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 5.5 to 6 seconds, depending on gearing and vehicle weight. Built primarily from cast iron, it was rugged enough to take abuse on the strip while still being street legal. Another engine that cemented its name in Mopar history was the 440 six-pack. With 7.2 liters of displacement, it was rated at 390 horsepower and an impressive 490 pound-feet of torque. Its triple two-barrel carburetor setup gave it the six-pack name, and it came with an aluminum intake manifold that optimized airflow and performance. This engine powered icons like the Dodge Charger and the Challenger, making them legends both on the street and in organized drag racing. What really set the 440 six-pack apart was its massive torque delivery, making it feel even more powerful than its horsepower rating suggested. And of course, no discussion of legendary big blocks is complete without mentioning the 426 Hemi. Known simply as the Hellephant because of its sheer size and weight, this 7-liter monster pushed out around 420 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque. Dropped into mid to late 1960s Challenger RTs and Charger RTs, it became a nightmare for rivals on the drag strip. With the ability to rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 5 seconds flat, the 426 Hemi wasn't just a muscle car engine. It was an engineering statement that Chrysler intended to dominate NASCAR and the quarter mile at the same time.
Among the most famous big blocks ever created was Dodge's cast iron 426 Hemi, but around the same time, Chevrolet was also pushing the limits with its own monster engines. One of the standouts was Chevrolet's 427 cubic inch 7-liter V8, produced in several versions, including high-performance solid lifter models. The most powerful street-going versions produced around 425 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque with an 11.0 to 1 compression ratio. A key highlight of the 427 was its high-performance camshaft design, which allowed for higher RPM capability than most of its competitors. This powerhouse could be found under the hood of legendary cars such as the 1969 Chevrolet Corvette, the Impala SS, and the Biscayne. Built from heavy cast iron, it symbolized an era before aluminum blocks became the norm for saving weight. Ford's answer to Chevrolet's big block dominance came in the form of the FE427 V8, another 7-liter beast. In its highest output form, the engine made 425 horsepower and up to 480 pound-feet of torque, depending on configuration. This motor gained fame in NASCAR as well, and in the legendary AC Shelby Cobra, where its explosive torque and durability cemented its place in history. It became one of Ford's most respected performance engines of the 1960s, designed not only for speed, but also for endurance on the track. Chevrolet continued to refine its big block lineup, with the 450 horsepower, 500 pound-feet versions of the 454 cubic inch engines finding homes in cars like the Chevelle SS and the C3 Corvette. These machines were brutally quick for their time, with the Chevelle SS capable of sprinting from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 5.4 seconds. Impressive numbers for a heavy muscle car of that era. Collectors today prize these engines, and cars equipped with them often demand high prices at auctions. Fast forwarding to modern times, Chevrolet revived the big block legacy with its LSX 454 crate engine. With 7.4 liters of displacement, it delivers a staggering 627 horsepower and 586 pound-feet of torque. Marketed as a 21st century 454, it's even more potent than the original versions found in 1970s icons like the Chevrolet Suburban and El Camino. However, this kind of modern muscle comes at a cost, around $14,000 just for the crate motor. Taking things even further, Chevrolet developed the ZZ572 720, one of its most extreme crate engines. Displacing 9.4 liters, this drag racing-focused motor produces 727 horsepower and 680 pound-feet of torque, thanks to its 12.0-to-1 compression ratio, forged steel crankshaft, and forged aluminum pistons. With a price tag of around $22,000, it's aimed squarely at hot rodders, drag racers, and custom builds rather than regular production cars. But Chevrolet didn't stop there. The company shocked the performance world with the ZZ632 1000, its largest and most powerful naturally aspirated crate engine ever. With a mind-boggling 10.4 liters of displacement, this monster delivers 1,004 horsepower and 876 pound-feet of torque on pump gas. Unlike earlier big blocks, this engine was never designed for production cars. Instead, it's built for custom hot rods, race cars, and extreme builds. Despite its output, Chevrolet kept the price relatively reasonable at around $32,000, considering the insane performance it offers. Still, perhaps the most jaw-dropping modern big block comes from Dodge. Their 7-liter Hellephant A170 crate engine pushes the limits with an astonishing 1,100 horsepower and 950 pound-feet of torque. But with an all-aluminum block to shed weight and paired with a massive 3-liter supercharger, it's designed exclusively for aftermarket projects. The Hellephant isn't available in any production Dodge vehicle, it's strictly crate only, but it has quickly become a legend in the world of custom muscle builds. And with a price just under $30,000, it has become one of the most sought-after engines for enthusiasts who want pure, unfiltered power. From the golden age of cast iron muscle to today's aluminum block crate monsters, the big block V8 has evolved but never lost its reputation for raw, unrelenting power. Each generation pushed the limits a little further, leaving behind a legacy that still excites gearheads around the world. And if you're passionate about muscle cars, crate engines, and automotive history, don't forget to subscribe to the Garage Legends for more legendary builds and stories.